Good morning, BNI. So first of all, please give yourself a round of applause. That should be a little louder because I think the reason I wanted you to give a round of applause to yourself is because you're all givers. Am I right? Givers. It's really an amazing thing to be in an auditorium, in a room full of givers. Such a rare thing, right? But as BNI members, we experience it every week. So now tell me, you would have experienced this giving right from the start when you joined BNI. Someone mentored you, somebody welcomed you into the chapter, somebody helped you by sponsoring you and getting into the chapter, right? How many of you have experienced this giving by someone else? Raise your hands. All of you would have experienced this, right? And somewhere down the line, you started giving. You started mentoring others. You started inviting others into the chapter. You started helping other members get comfortable in the chapter. So how many of you have done that? Raise your hands. Yeah? I think all of you have done that. If you're BNI members, you would have done that. You would have started giving. You would have started even getting referrals for each other and all of that. Please raise your hand again. I hope I got all of your attention. Okay, so this is the reason for that, those claps, right? Now let me ask a question. Did any of you get paid for that? For all of that giving? Anybody got paid for it? No, right? So it was all voluntary. You were doing it all willingly. And you were doing it with such enthusiasm, isn't it? That I want to help a fellow member. I want to help my friend get into the chapter. I want to take up this role, that role, and all of that. And nobody was actually compelling you to do that. Nor was there a payment for you that this is what you'll get. So it was all out of the feeling of I want to do it, right? You're doing all these activities because you want to do it, not because you have to do it. You want to do it, not because you have to do it. Now, how come in our own organizations we don't get this kind of feeling that I want to do it from our team members? Have you all thought of that? Because this is typically what happens in organizations, right? People feel like, as entrepreneurs, we've all gone through this. You'd have felt like, how come this person is not doing what they're supposed to be doing? How come we need to keep telling them to do something? How come they're not taking initiative? Right? So how come we need to keep reminding people to do the work that they're supposed to do? So how come this difference? That we are in our teams, in our own organizations, we pay money and yet people are not enthusiastically working the way they're supposed to. Would you like me to solve the dilemma for you? Would you like to get the same kind of energy, the same kind of motivation that you see within your chapters also happen within your organizations? Will that be a useful learning? Yeah? Okay, so let me share something. So this actually happened in 2016 when one entrepreneur, her name is Shweta Shetty, so she came to me and asked, Balaji, how do you do it? So how do you do it that your team members seem to be acting like entrepreneurs, but for me, the whole day, it's about people issues. So I asked her what was happening in her life, what was happening in her business. So she was running a website development company. She had around 30 team members. And this was what was happening. Supposing there's a client complaint, the salesperson would complain on the website developer. Then the website developer would complain on the architect who designed the website. And the whole day, Shweta was trying to figure out how do I get these people to talk to each other, right? And by the end of the day, she was saying that I was exhausted trying to resolve these people issues. So I gave her 3 suggestions, which I thought she would not take me seriously. But 3 months later, we were all sitting in a group around 10, 12 entrepreneurs, and she said, Balaji, remember the one-to-one I did with you? I've implemented all your 3 suggestions, and now I've got so much time on my hand. And my people started to do things that I never believed that they would do. So what kind of things they were doing now? Now if there is a customer complaint, the software developer who was never budging from his laptop, right? He goes, visits the client and sorts out the issue, right? There were some franchisees to be opened up for her, and deadline was coming. Some software developers said, "Oh, we will go and fix this." Earlier, if you look at the business development manager would have gone. And best of all, they used to get corporate catering to their offices for lunch. And the team decided, let's get rid of this catering. We'll get tiffins from home. We can save some money for the company. And Shweta was saying, if I had done this, taken this decision, all these team members would have said, this company doesn't care for us. Now they are only doing these kind of things. Is that some amazing results? Would you like to know why it happened? Is that useful for you? So what were the 3 suggestions I gave her? So first I'll tell you the suggestions. Because I gave it to her like a doctor gives a prescription, right? I just give do this, do this, do this. And she kind of just did it. But there are certain principles. So I'll come to the principles a little later. So the 3 suggestions were this. First I said, she had some 300 clients. So I said, divide those 300 clients into 5 or 6 groups. Let's call them circles. Use some logic, complexity of the website or something like that. The second suggestion I told her was, in these circles, you divide those 30 team members so that each circle have all the talented skills required to do the job. The second suggestion I gave her was, get rid of all job descriptions and designations. No designations, no job descriptions, right? Get rid of individual incentives. The only thing, if you want, you can have a team incentive. And the only thing you should tell that each circle is, you need to make sure that the client is happy, that's all. And I also told her, make the failure look available for each of the circles. So let every team member know how well they are doing as a team and whether they are contributing to the company's profits. The third suggestion which I gave her was, get out of office, don't be in the office, right? So obviously, I thought these were some suggestions that she may not take me seriously, but 3 months later she did, and we saw the results that she got. So what were the assumptions that she was operating on before and what happened later? So this is what the critical principles are about. You see, most of us are used to working how Shweta was working earlier. Right? She had organized a team in terms of departments, designations, so-and-so is a manager, so-and-so is so-and-so, and so on. Right? All of that she had done. Which is essentially how typical organizations work. But there is a fundamental problem with this. What's the fundamental problem? You see, the word management itself, what does it mean? It means you need to physically take someone who doesn't want to do what they're doing and get them to do something that they do not want to do, right? That's where the origin of the word management has come from. And management originated in the assembly line and even worse, in the plantations and in the slave market. That's where the management paradigm really started. So by definition, if you look at the assumptions behind this management, it is that work is something that people do not like to do, right? And second, and therefore you need a manager to manage them. But what if we broke that assumption and said, no, work is something that we all enjoy doing, right? It is something natural to do, work. Supposing we start from that assumption. Suddenly, you get a kind of behavior you're getting over here, right, in your chapters, that I want to do this. That's also work, isn't it? I want to do it. But you're not doing it because something is compelling you to do it. You're doing it because of volition, your free will. There's another paradigm in operation which is making work so uninteresting for people. What is that? That the machine, the organization is like a machine, right? And somebody at the top, the CEO, the owner of the company, somebody at the top has figured out how the machine should run. And every part of the machine has to run the way it is being designed. And people are just parts of the machine. So that's the paradigm at work. Now this is the problem. In a machine, if a nut gets spoiled, what happens? You replace the nut with another nut with the same specification. Am I right? But if a person is not doing a job well, a nut comes in specification. Two people come in same specifications. Have you ever seen two people with the same talent, skills, enthusiasm, motivation and so on? No, right? So that is the problem. We can't use the machine paradigm for people. Okay. And that's the reason you see in organizations, because of machine paradigm, you have things like job descriptions, then you have reviews, you have KRAs and all of that. Why? Because we're trying to fit people to specific roles. Okay, that's the problem. So is there a better way to do it? Okay. So broadly speaking, instead of forcing people into tasks, what we need to do is fit tasks to people. That's a different way of looking at it. Fit tasks to people rather than people to tasks. So what happened in Shweta's case, in those circles? So in one circle, maybe there's a super sales guy, right? In the other circle, there are two sales guys. In the third circle, there's a person who likes to do sales, but he's also good in content writing. So he does sales and content writing. So the three circles look very different, right? And that's the reason why we don't want job descriptions and we don't want designations, because then we're trying to fit people into one set way of doing things, whereas people would like to do what they are naturally wanting to do, where they want to grow, where they want to learn, where they want to contribute. And those are the reasons why people do want to do work, right? So this is what happened with Shweta, because once we changed the organization design, suddenly you saw that people wanting to do things for the sake of the organization. And for themselves as well, because they could see how their work was impacting others. So this is one paradigm, okay? Now I call it, the moment you do this, you start seeing that, people are taking their own initiative. I want to do things. Not because I have to. But the moment you exercise power on that, you actually kill that instinct of, I want to do it. Because then it becomes, I have to do it. Why? Because someone is going to punish me or reward me. Because of that, I have to do it. Not that I want to do it. So what we need to do really by design is to reduce the use of power in organizations. In fact, in Shweta's case, there was no power at all because nobody has a designation. Nobody was the boss. They were self-organizing. Okay, so we cut power everywhere instant. We distributed power to everyone. And that's why that enthusiasm to do work happened. Okay, that's at the organization level, organization design level. So what's a design, since I use the word design? A good design gets better results from the same people without even them realizing it. For example, think of a busy intersection, right? In traffic intersection, there might be a lot of noise, chaos happening. Cars honking, people kind of trying to figure out where, and there's a traffic jam and so on and so forth. All that is required is maybe a traffic light and a road divider, and suddenly the traffic starts moving smoothly, right? So that's a good design. So what I'm talking about is changing the organization design based on certain fundamental principles. Now that I talked about organization design, so now let's shift to another very interesting thing in terms of, is the business aligned to yourself? What do I mean by this? Now think of two very successful entrepreneurs, Steve Jobs and Michael Dell. Okay, Steve Jobs created Apple, Michael Dell created Dell Computers. Both of them are highly successful. Now that's the interesting thing. Steve Jobs could not have created Dell, Michael Dell could not have created Apple. Why? See how different those organizations are? Because the organizations are just a manifestation of what the entrepreneurs truly value, what they truly believe in. Okay. Now we all want to become as successful as Steve Jobs, Michael Dell and all of that, Elon Musk and so on. So we want to become like that, right? But instead, what we need to learn from all of these successful entrepreneurs is that we need to be true to ourselves. So we need to design our organizations to reflect ourselves and become the best versions of ourselves. So let me take an example. So around a year and a half back, Kiran, who is an entrepreneur, he came to me and he was running appliances store, home appliances, TVs, refrigerators, home theaters and so on. And when he came to me, he said he was into heavy losses. So he was asking me, what do I do? So I do one exercise, it takes an hour's time, I call it the discovery exercise. Where I help the entrepreneur figure out what is their natural way of adding value to someone. Automatically they're adding value to someone else. How do they do it? In Kiran's case, because he wants to give the right advice. He wants to make sure that people are doing the right thing. So I just had a hunch. I said, Kiran, tell me what percentage of your clients have even visited your retail store? They made purchases from you, but have they visited your retail outlets? He came back after a week and he was himself surprised, right? 80% of them have not even stepped into his retail outlets. So what was happening? So some examples. So an old couple will call him up and say, we don't understand gadgets at all. So you tell us, Kiran, what to buy, we'll buy it. An interior designer will call him up and say, I've done this lovely interiors, I want matching appliances. You take care of that headache. So I told Kiran, you're not in the retail business, you're in the advice business. Right? So what are you doing with all these retail outlets? Just close it. Why are you spending so much money on the retail space, team members and all that? Just close it. 1 year later, a few months back, he came to one of my workshops. The first question I asked him, Kiran, are you in profits now? And he said, with a big smile, yes, I'm in profits, I'm in green. And how many deals are you closing every week? He's closing around 3 deals a week, high-end expensive home theaters and so on. How many were you closing when you had the 3 retail outlets? He said, few months with 0 sales. That was not what happened. So you see, what I helped Kiran do was align his business to his natural instincts. I call them entrepreneurial instincts. And that's what you can do. So that your work, your business becomes naturally enjoyable for you. And that's what a great business looks like. That's what all of these famous entrepreneurs have done. They have aligned businesses to their own strengths. So now we understand 2 things. How do we create organizations by design so that people are working because it's a joy for them to work? And how do you create a business which is aligned to yourself so that business work is joy for you as well? And what we also learned is that the moment you use power, that joy shrinks, right? It weakens. Why? Because then it becomes a habit. And what kind of power I'm talking about? Rewards, recognitions, okay, punishments and so on and so forth. Then what happens? People start saying, I don't feel like doing it, but I have to do it. So you're killing motivation, right? Now this is where you're all of you are lucky over here. Why? Because you're part of BNI. And in BNI, you have to get work done through fellow entrepreneurs, right? You can't exercise power over here. Because they're all fellow entrepreneurs. So the moment you start exercising power, they'll say, we put my thank you, right? So you need another type of leadership. And that leadership is of influence and inspiration. Influence and inspiration. And this is exactly the kind of leadership you need to get people excited at work. And what I urge you to do and take advantage of is in BNI, you take up different roles, various opportunities that you might get so that you can practice this art of leadership, which I call powerless leadership, so that you can get powerful results. Thank you so much. Thanks, Amit, for inviting me. I'd love to see you.
Den kan break moreover, I never got full order, evidence the economy, with the data
We'd like to thank Sir. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And we'd like to call Mr. Anandeep to please felicitate Sir. Can we have a huge round of applause? Mr. Nandeep is the ED for Amritsar and Himachal. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to both the gentlemen.